Hello, and welcome to Salesforce Release Readiness Live for Summer 17. We're going to be covering all of the latest and greatest features in the Summer 17 release. So thank you for joining us, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening. So before we get started, I'd like to cover a few logistical items. One, we're going to be recording this session, so if you have to leave early or if you want to share this with one of your colleagues, it'll be posted at the same place that you registered for this Salesforce Live. Also, we really want to hear from you and learn your questions and answer them during this session. So I'd like to kick it over to Elna Miller, who you may recognize from the community, to share with us how you can engage and ask questions of our live panel of product managers during the session.
Thanks, Leanne. Great to see everybody. Thank you for joining today. If this is your second day, welcome back. I'm Elna Miller, your moderator in Release Readiness Community Group in the Success Community. We are going to be looking for your questions today. There's lots of great stuff being shared. I'm sure you're going to have lots of questions, so please feel free to post your questions and shout-outs on Twitter or in the Release Readiness Community Group. Please do tag your questions with hashtag Salesforce Live so we can easily find them, especially on Twitter. And we will get to as many as we can during the live session. Without further ado, I think I'll hand it back to you, Leanne.
Thanks, Elna. So please make sure, post your questions on Twitter or Success, because we love hearing from you, and we will make sure to try to get to as many of those as we can during the session, and also answer those later on Twitter and Success Community. So we're going to be here all week in sunny San Francisco, and we have live panels of product managers to showcase each product and all the features and releases that are coming in Summer 17. You may have spent time with the release notes and have started to play with some of these features, but there's nothing like seeing them demoed live by our PMs who are responsible for those features. So this is a great time to help fill in any of those gaps or questions you might have about what's coming in Summer 17 before it goes live in your environment. One last thing before we get started, I would like to present our forward-looking statement. Because we are so lucky to be joined by our product team, we may be discussing some future technologies. So please make sure that you're making all purchasing decisions based on currently available technology. So without further ado, I'd love to kick it off and introduce our panel of product managers who will be covering the App Cloud.
Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Joe Ryan. I'll be covering some great enhancements in Summer and Lightning.
John Kucera, super excited to talk about the console setup and some of the Lightning enablement tools we have.
So I'm Vladimir. I'm excited here to cover some amazing picklist enhancement we're doing, as well as a new time field that we're piloting in Summer.
Hi, I'm Amanda Grady. I'm going to talk about what's new in event monitoring in Summer 17, as well as giving a very brief refresher on what that product is.
Great. So thank you for being here, and we've got some great features to cover today. So let's go ahead and get started.
Great. Let's
Joe?
jump in. Thanks, Leanne. So how many people here love field history? If you're like me, you want to keep track of what's going on all your records. And so this has been a gap in Lightning. We've had it in Classic for many years, and now it's in Lightning. So as of Summer, you can now turn this on your objects, and you can see it. So for example, on accounts, you have account history. So if anybody ever goes on an account and makes a change to a field, that's tracked right here. You can see who it was, what the change was. It's really useful if you have a big team looking at different records. So that's great. The next thing, if you like to write some code and either Visualforce or Lightning components, if you want to create new records and you want to save some clicks and some time, you can actually pre-populate some of the data on those new records. So you can basically use the snippets here to create the values and push them in so that when you create a new record, they're already filled in for you. So go check that one out. That's a lot of fun. Another thing, this kind of seems small, but it's actually pretty big. You can create lots of cool charts on list views in Lightning. They look amazing. But until now, you couldn't actually clean them up and delete them. And people have been like, hey, I need to do that, right?
Yes.
We've been out talking to folks at Lightning Now tours, and that's kind of a common question of like, oh, I built these great charts, but can I delete a couple of these?
Yeah, the charts are awesome, but it's great to be able to clean up your experience
Totally.
and make sure you're seeing the charts you want to see.
Yep. So now you can do that right there on the screen. You can see delete chart is there. And then this one is pretty big. So Idea Exchange has been blowing up with this one for probably over a year and a half. But there's a lot of people out there who think Lightning's great, which it is, and they want to have all their users using Lightning and not going back to Classic. And it also helps cut down the training costs for admins to have to train all the users on how to use both UIs. And so new in Summer 17, we have a great user perm. It's got a long name, sorry, but it's called hide option to switch to Salesforce Classic.
Just rolls off your tongue, Joe.
Rolls off your tongue, super easy. And this one you can assign to either profiles or use perm sets. So you can pick which people have this perm. And if they have this perm, basically when they're in Lightning and they go to the user menu, there'll no longer be a link that says switch to Salesforce Classic. That's now hidden from them. And whenever they log in, they always go into Lightning. So this is an easy way for you to control which people stay in Lightning all the time.
Yeah, that's huge for admins too, who are trying to increase adoption and also ensure that when they're troubleshooting maybe end user issues, they know where their users are.
Yep. So please keep all the feedback coming. If you have more things you need like this to make your job easier as admins, let us know, and we'll definitely want to put it in the product. I think at this point, Elna, any questions so far from our fans?
Well, I love favorites. I use favorites all the time myself, every day. I'm trying to be in Lightning as much as possible, and it really helps me do that.
Awesome.
So we did have a couple of questions already from the community before we even started. That tells you how much people are
I love it.
interested in this,
Let's
right?
do it.
So Carl and Doug wanted to know, when can I favorite my own setup notes to appear as separate tabs within the setup screen?
That's a good question. So I'm glad people like favorites. We've seen a lot of usage of it, and there are some gaps still. We're working very fast to close them. One of them is actually favoriting setup pages. So we're hoping to close that gap soon. I can't tell you exactly when, but we want to let admins have an easier time of favoriting their favorite setup pages and being able to go back quickly and open those up.
So stay tuned for that. A couple of releases, maybe 2 or 3 releases.
Hopefully
if we're lucky.
sooner, we'll see.
If we're lucky.
Yeah, nailed
Okay.
it down, huh?
We'll see.
Back to
Still
that
top
safe
secret.
harbor forward-looking statement slide. Just want to remind everybody.
Yes. And then the other thing is, I happen to notice something about favorites in console. There
Yeah.
was a patch or something.
Joe.
What
About favorites in
changed?
console.
Yeah, so John's going to cover a good demo of console in a second if you haven't seen it before, and you can use favorites there, but there are some current limitations. So personally, I use console all the time internally. I love it. You're going to see it. It's great. You should definitely check it out. And favorites helps you get to things quickly, and you can now use favorites in console. So as of summer, we put out a patch. We made some changes to favorites behavior. One of those changes was before in spring, when you'd open a favorite, it would actually change apps on you. And that's okay, but we figured, based on the feedback we got, that it was better just to open that content in the current app you're in. So from summer forward, now when you open a favorite, you just open it right in your current app. And what's great about that change is you actually can open favorites in console now. They just open up as a new tab in there. So it's really quick and easy to use console, stay in console, open your favorites there. But the one gap we have right now in summer is that you can't add new favorites from console. So we're feverishly working on doing that fix. So hopefully very soon we'll have that for you where you can then add favorites in console as well.
That's awesome. So you can open them now if you created them already.
Right.
Outside of the console.
That's right.
You can go open them and use them. And so really, I, of course, open them a lot more than I create them. So that's definitely a step in the right
I mean, I think our feeling is kind of like, if you're using console and favorites, you're so productive in Lightning, it's great. So definitely check it out, that combination.
I couldn't agree more. Okay, so I want to hear more about the console, so maybe I should...
Yeah, John, the console is amazing. Why don't you tell us more about it?
Let's do it. Let's learn about console. Okay, so big announcement. Console apps are generally available. And I'm going to sort of blast through slides because I really want to show it to you. So there's a lot of great things in console apps if you haven't seen them, but they're fundamentally a faster way to work. So we've got sales and service console apps out of the box. Every single person that's listening in here, you already have a Lightning console app. We'll show you how to switch through in the app picker, but you can just check it out right now. So I think that's huge. We made licensing simpler. You don't have to go into setup and check a box for every single user that you want to use console apps. You just switch. And it's just fast. When you open up records, you don't have seagulls in this release. So it's just a faster way to open up a bunch of records. You can toggle between them. We save all of your tabs, and we'll go into this in more detail. We've got shortcuts and much, much more to come. So console apps are great. Split View. So I get to take credit for one of Joe's team's things. Split View is a fast way to open a ton of records really fast. So if you're an inside sales rep, often you want to work a list. So I've got my inbound, here's my new people for the day. And I want to open 5 of them, and then I want to do my first touch by sending them an email. And you used to have to go back and forth to do that. Now you just click through all of them, and they all load in parallel. So this is a super fast way to get your job done. And we continue to focus on these productivity ways to make you do your job faster. And then setup. So I'll bet a lot of people on the call like setup. We continue to invest in making Lightning setup more productive. I'm really excited about the object manager changes. The team really hit a home run with this. So before, we basically had what was custom objects in Classic. One page with about 13 different list views. and it was not as fast as we wanted it to be. There was definitely some opportunities for enhancement. So we completely reimagined it. We redesigned it so that you can click through all the sections and have list views work like list views. Gone is the terrible pagination of next and previous and all of that, and you can just scroll. And we've made those lists load even faster when you're in there. So I really think that this is a huge jump forward to make Lightning setup even better than Classic.
It's actually pretty cool. I noticed it a few months ago when we just released it to JS0, and it was the first thing I click and set up. And
Great
like,
for
wow.
configuring all your pick
Yeah.
lists.
Yep,
Setting all of
exactly.
your global pick lists.
I used to hate it, but the new experience looks pretty
So
awesome.
if you've been a little bit gun shy in Lightning setup and like, oh, I don't know, now is the time to check it out. We think you'll be very happy with it.
I love New Object Manager. I actually opened up one of my old demo orgs that has a huge amount of like objects and pages, and it just has like a ton of stuff in it.
Yeah.
And it's so much faster. It's a lot easier to search. Not only searching within setup and then navigating within Object Manager makes it much faster.
Yeah, it's great. And we're going to keep investing in making the whole experience better. All right, right click. This is another one of those where it's like, oh, why didn't this just work? Well, it turns out it's hard, but it works now. So all of you people who are advanced admins, you right click for everything. And we know that, and we wanted to respect it. And finally, right click works in almost every part of setup. So this will help you, again, work the way that you want without having to change your behavior. It's Lightning Experience Migration Assistant Redesign. It's a mouthful. Basically, we made it easier to access all the tools you need to get going with Lightning. We used to have, again, a big, long page of everything, and we wanted to make it more bite-sized, and that also so that it mirrors how you do your rollout. So we'll check out how that works as well.
Great.
And then last but not least, the readiness check. If you haven't run it, you should run it now. It's in setup. We'll go through how that works. This is a custom report tailored to your organization, which tells you which profiles are ready to move to Lightning. What are all the gaps that you might have with Lightning? And thanks to the work that Joe and teams are doing, that list keeps getting shorter and shorter. And then the big release right now, you can run Service Cloud readiness assessment. So this is a great way for those folks that are classic Service Cloud customers to see, okay, where do things stand and where should I start looking to think about moving to Lightning? So we really think this is a big step forward, and we update this all the time. The team's done a great job.
And the readiness report is awesome because it's great because there's no admin that I know who doesn't want to know more information about their customizations, right? Like who doesn't want to know, everything that's going on in their environment, in their org, everything they've built out. And Readiness Check gives you that. It gives you a deep dive into everything that you have in your org. It's awesome.
Yeah,
It's also good for learning. So I feel like when you look at a report, it has so many links to different topics. You can learn about these things, make changes, change your configuration as needed. So it's very helpful for admins to go through it too.
Yeah.
a nice other unexpected benefit was a lot of admins inherited all these customizations,
Right.
and they don't even know what's in there. And so this gives you a great analysis of not just what you've configured, but what all your predecessors have done
Right.
in a focused, prioritized way so that you can do Lightning enablement with confidence.
And we've seen too, like there's often a lot of cruft that's built up over the years. And so you can go look at this big long list and be like, I don't need to actually move all that over to Lightning.
Maybe a
so
little spring cleaning.
a little spring cleaning, a little summer cleaning, whatever.
I wish we had this when I was an admin. I took over an org and I didn't know what was in there.
Right,
Right? You have to
yeah.
go through and basically manually document it. I mean,
Totally.
this is huge.
Yep. Very cool.
So slides are great. I like demo. Let's switch to demo. So let's show you how some of this works. So we're going to switch over to this Lightning console app. So first, how do you switch to console apps? Just go to the app launcher. So these are already in your menu. Now, if you have a lot of apps, they may be at the bottom of it, but you can just click on an app and switch to it. What I recommend is drag all of your console apps to the top right or top left because they're kind of amazing. As we're going through this, one other thing I want to showcase, Lightning is fundamentally faster in summer 17. We have hundreds of people who spend so much of their time making this experience faster. And I think you'll see that through this demo. This is not a fake demo. We don't have a fancy machine. We don't have fancy internet. You'll see that through these clicks and through this experience, we continue to focus on making Lightning as fast as it can possibly be. And so with that, let's talk about how do console apps actually work. So if you're used to other apps, you might remember all of the top tabs across the top. So you have like opportunities and accounts and all that. You're like, okay, where'd my tabs go? So first in console apps, we have the menu item picker. This is where all of those go. So if I want to switch to cases, I just pick it right there. If I want to go to contacts and switch between all my contacts lists, I switch at the top. And then if I have other things which don't have a list, like dashboards, these actually open as a workspace tab. And the reason that we did this was so that you can pin them. So if I happen to be an exec and I go to dashboards all the time, I can just keep this dashboards tab there all the time. Then I can open up my CEO dashboard. And then I can have my CEO dashboard just there. And again, I can pin this because it's something I want to check every day. So as I'm going through the console app, the next thing I want to talk through is how do records work. As I open up a bunch of cases with split view, so first you can see just how fast this is. It's kind of like we put a browser inside of your browser tab, which sounds crazy, but there's a lot of benefits to it. So all of these loaded super fast. There's no seagull. They just got there. And this is a super powerful thing that we have with split view. So I can just open up all these cases that are ready for me to go. Also, unlike standard nav, I can toggle between these without doing any additional page load. So this is just fundamentally a faster way to go between things. As you have the records open, if you open additional records, like let's go to the related account for this case, I open a subtab. And so subtabs are a great way to organize all the different things related to workspace. If I'm in an account, I can have my opportunities or my contacts. And unlike doing multiple browser tabs, I can use a single click to close them all.
Well, that's pretty tidy.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I really like about console apps is you get interrupted all the time in your job. Okay, I'm going to work this case. I need to do an update. Wait, John, there's just one question, just a minute. And it's never just a minute. And so then maybe your session times out, and you lose all your work, and you're like, We remember your tabs. And we made this even smarter than classic console apps. In classic console, if your session expires, you're out of luck. If you have a change on multiple devices, you're kind of out of luck. Here, every minute, we're automatically saving all these tabs, so I don't lose my work. So there's so many times I get interrupted, and then I can be like, oh, wait, yeah, I've got this tab. I need to follow up on this. And this is a great way for me to keep doing all the things that are important for my job.
I gotta say, I love this feature because now that I'm using console internally for Salesforce all day long, if I go home from work and come back the next day and I open it back up, all of my things are back open again. And so if I forgot to get something done, that tab is looking at me like, hey, you didn't respond to this chatter post. You should get back to that person. So it's a good way to kind of mentally have your post-it notes built right into the product, right?
I think of it as a zero-click favorite, Joe.
I love it.
Until you close them out. But wait, there's more. So we continue to enhance console apps with productivity in mind. Thanks to our friends in Service Cloud, they added keyboard shortcuts. So if you do command / I think of it as command ? This will bring up the menu to see what all these great shortcuts were that were added. And these really help console apps shine. And by the way, these aren't just for console apps. Some of the other ones, like the global ones, they also will work for standard nav, but they really, really shine in console apps. So you'll have to sort of trust me as I go through this because a lot of this is keyboard commands. But let's say that I am over in here and I want to change the status to high. Well, I could tab, 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 or go with mouse, 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 or I could just do my save. And that, like command S, just saves. And that will work for a bunch of different places. And then let's say I want to actually send an email. I can just press G, P, that goes to the publisher, and now I'm focused on the publisher action for status and like go through the different ones here. So I'm just using my keyboard to go up. Let's say that I want to toggle between all my workspaces. G, W, oops, we have to get out of our publisher, sorry about that. And then I can just go left and right to toggle between all of my tabs. And as you can see, this is super fast. Let's say I want to switch from my leads to my contacts. I can just go to my items menu, switch up there, hit enter, tab through, and I can even open up my records just by using all keyboard commands. So it's all of these little micro interactions that we really wanted to focus on to make this the ultimate high productivity workspace. So I hope that we've intrigued you enough to check out console apps. Really encourage you to just go into the app launcher and switch to check it out now. And then when you feel comfortable, which hopefully is in 5 minutes, you should just deploy this and tell all of your users to use it. You can go configure all the page layouts and all of that and really make this a more productive way for all your users to get things done in Salesforce.
And you can also create custom console apps, right?
You can. Yeah, these are not just, you can go beyond the sales and service console.
Right.
So if you have like a custom recruiting process that you use with custom objects, you can make a new console app through App Manager. So I think this is super powerful. I'm really excited about it. And I love that this is now generally available for everybody to use.
Really cool.
Yeah, this is huge for our admins to be able to deliver to their end users, right? And to encourage them to use these features and use the sales and service console apps, but build the custom console apps. I mean, I love custom console apps.
You will be a hero.
You can
People
console
will be
all the
singing your
things.
praises. Thank you for making my job faster.
So I know I love hearing about these products, and I hope our community does also. Elna, do we have any questions coming up?
Oh,
for
yeah.
us?
So admins who like to work fast are all jumping up and down. And Jolene in particular says she loves the new setup, and Kim says hooray for the right click. So you got it right there. They definitely they will be using that right away. And I do want to remind everybody that pretty much everybody with Professional Edition and above should have at least one sandbox in your attached to your org. So those console apps should be right there in that sandbox, already built. You don't have to even build them. Just open them up and start playing, right?
Yeah, and for some of our older customers, they may not realize that about a year ago, we gave Professional Edition console apps for free. It used to only be an Enterprise Edition, but now every single Professional Edition customer can benefit from this productivity workspace.
So this is truly something for everyone. And so definitely check it out if you haven't already. And in terms of being faster, it definitely, I can definitely see it being faster, but the important thing about why it's faster to me is that it's a different way of working. So you're not clicking and waiting for a page to load and then clicking and waiting for a page to load. It's all just right there. And there are ways that you can do things that just pretty much just reduces the amount of page loading by a huge amount.
Yeah, it does.
And that's ultimately what does it, because even if pages load fast, there's still that switch in perspective, and it kind of throws you off.
Yeah, you don't lose like scroll position, you don't have to reload the list, you don't lose your sort order, like all those little things really add up.
That's right. And we did have one, so Christopher says, thank you for making Lightning faster with keyboard shortcuts. So thank you, Christopher, for that shout out. And we also had another question from Christopher. He's wondering, have there been any changes to the way you grant Service Cloud access to the Service Cloud console? Do you still need to use that Service Cloud user?
No, we got rid of the checkbox for Lightning because frankly, it's a pain in the butt. In the old way, you had to go and for every single user in your org, go to there, click edit, check a box, save. And if you have 1,000 users, that's terrible. So what we did was we made it just like other apps. You assign the profiles to the apps like Lightning Service Console, and then they just see it. They can just switch to it. There's no complicated licensing to deal with. There's no editing every single user. They just work like other apps do.
That's great. Thank you for clarifying that. And can you also talk a little bit about some other, when we think of the console, a lot of times we're talking about sales or we're talking about service. Are there any other use cases for console? Like let's say you have just platform licenses. You don't have Sales or Service Cloud, or you want to use it for a different use case.
So for platform licenses, we're thinking about how we can best open up console apps to that new market. We don't have anything to announce at this time, but in the near future, we're looking at options to support licenses like platforms, so stay tuned.
All right, and Mike was asking, he might have joined a couple minutes after we talked about the favorites, Joe, but he's asking about using favorites in console. So let's just reiterate again that favorites can now be opened in console apps in Lightning. You just can't create them yet, but that will be coming in the future. So Mike, you might have missed that conversation, but for everyone else who needs to know that, because it's important. You know, it's definitely a huge productivity boost, and you want to have that in the console too, right?
I just want to make a comment. Like, I hope folks understand that we're hard at work trying to really make Lightning a very efficient experience for you, reduce clicks, make it faster, really kind of make the flows awesome that feel good and get your job done faster. And so between favorites, between what you're seeing in console, we're really kind of doing a lot of work on how you interact with our product. And so we're hoping you're seeing these enhancements over time.
And to that, I'd love to show some more about the changes that we made in setup as well.
Okay, go for it.
So some of the things that you'll notice in Summer 17 with setup, when you go there, Object Manager is one click away. So this is huge. So many things that people do in setup, like this is a huge percentage of the time that people spend is configuring objects. And we wanted to reimagine this to make it faster. So as you go here, people are like, wait, nothing's loading, nothing happened. No, it just loaded that fast. Like details just are instantly there. And we ordered these in the sequence that people use them the most. So basically, people use the fields the most. We want it to be number 2 in the list. In the old days, we'd load 20 things, then you had kind of the awkward next and previous. Now you just scroll down and we have infinite scroll. So this is just such a faster experience, and I really think the team just nailed it. When I go in here, let's say, wait, I want to compare a few of these custom fields. I now can do right-click.
That's pretty
So that I
cool.
can multitask. But we know that it's not just for fields. I want to open up all my page layouts. And so, like, again, these seem small, but this is just the way that people work. And we're blocking that from you with previous versions of Lightning. So we really want to remove all of that friction and make this a super fast way to get through everything that you need in Lightning Land. With Lightning Pages, you can get to these super fast as well. The other thing the team did a great job of was adding this context menu. So Joe added this for standard nav apps. We wanted to add it to Object Manager so you can quickly create new objects on the fly. So I really think Object Manager is a huge enhancement forward, and I think you'll be really pleased with the experience in Lightning.
Hey, maybe everybody else is wondering too, but you just popped open a bunch of tabs in setup. Have you thought about maybe doing console for setup?
Oh, Joe, we're constantly looking at how can we make setup the most efficient navigation to get to all the tools that you need to do your job. So again, nothing to announce. We're looking at all of these ways that we can make setup as productive as possible for everybody. So we're not done yet. So a couple other things in setup. The reimagined Lightning experience setup page. And usually you'll see this in Classic if you're still not enabling Lightning. But just to give you a quick harbor tour, second tab, readiness check. If you haven't run it before, it's just 2 clicks. It'll ask you, hey, do you want to do Sales or Service Cloud? You now get that custom experience if you click on either one. And then in about 2 minutes, you'll just see this PDF in your inbox. You can optimize all the features. We've got this great new Switch Users menu. So this is great for doing a pilot. You can say, OK, I want to get 5 people to check out Lightning, just myself, a couple business users, and others. After you've enabled the Lightning Experience user permission, you can then check this box to actively switch them to Lightning the next time they log in. So this is a great way to nudge people over. And for smaller orgs, this is a great way to push users at the right time of launch. But always do onboarding. Don't surprise them. People don't like surprises. And then last but not least, the Optimizer. So this is an awesome tool for admins. It's gotten, again, huge traction in the few months it's been live. This is your one-stop shop to analyze all of those settings that people may have done before you to see things like, do you have too many fields? Perhaps you have all these page layouts that aren't optimized the way that you want. This is kind of like a personal consultant that looks at all of the things you've done in setup and can give you actionable recommendations on how to make it better. So this has been a huge hit. 2 clicks to launch it, generate a PDF, run it early and often. We really like this tool.
So can admins only run one optimizer report, or?
They can run it as often as they would like. Now, please don't just hammer the button. Use it like judiciously. But there's no limit. Like, if you want to do it next week, things have changed. You want to see how things have been impacted. It's a great way to do it. And you can check it out from Sandbox.
Great. Thank you, John. So we just saw a bunch more great features, and I'm expecting that we have some more questions that have come up as well, especially spending time in Object Manager and seeing the Optimizer report. Any more questions for us, Elna?
Well, there's a couple of questions that one is related to what we covered yesterday, and another one is probably related to what we're covering tomorrow. So I think for Sumanth, your question about case teams will probably be best handled by the Service Cloud team, which will be on the air tomorrow. But we'll have them have a look at your question straight away as soon as they start tomorrow. I really want to see what else we have in App Cloud, and everybody please do post your questions in the Release Readiness community group. Use the hashtag Salesforce Live, or questions and shoutouts on Twitter, same hashtag. Back to you.
Oh, great. Thank you, guys. Amazing demos, by the way. I'm really excited about all the Lightning features we're getting, and I'm super excited to see what's new in Lightning and we're going to have in a couple of releases. And I'm going to talk about some core things, and as we're moving forward as a company and bringing innovation, I want to ensure everyone that we're also staying committed to the core and delivering to our initiative, also known as True to the Core. And some of those features that I'm going to demo today and talk a little bit about are a good representation of that initiative. And in summer 17, I'm happy to announce that we're releasing 3 features based on ideas you posted, and those are pick list. The default values now would be based on your formula, and they will no longer will be static. So you might know before that the only way to set up default is to specify specific value on a specific field, And that value will be default no matter what user profile you're using. And what is most importantly, if any of you use a global value set, that default value will be default for all the fields that use that global value set.
That's super powerful. It's like smart defaults.
It's a smart default. It's like super smart. And we're also introducing a next step for you to adopt global value sets with a promotion tool that allow you to take the single field and promote it to global value set, so you can reuse those values across multiple entities and across multiple fields. So we know that there've been IDM and ID exchange handling for quite a while, and this is one step in that direction. And while we clearly want to deliver 100% solution, this is at least something that you can use today and benefit today. And we are adding a new type of the field, which is a time field, and it's going in pilot in summer, so you can request a pilot and request a participation in a pilot program and check it out today. And our current target under the forward-looking statement is to make it generally available in winter 18, so next release. So, as I mentioned, promoting fields to global value set, it's as simple as a one-button click. You should be able to go edit your field and see the new button if you're already in summer. And the only restrictions that the field should be restricted, meaning that it cannot have more than 1,000 values, both active and inactive. And you can switch your field to restricted by one checkbox, and I'm going to show it later. Field value defaults. So you might be familiar with that field, with the text field already. You might have seen it on the text fields, on number fields. So now we're bringing it to custom picklist fields and custom multi-select picklist fields. You'll see it when you create a field or when you edit the field definition. And what's interesting here, I want to bring that complex diagram here in a play. So it's how it operates with global value sets and what's happened when you have both value default and field default, what we call them today. So because you use a formula, sometimes formula will not be able to resolve to an existing value. And you might be wondering, so what will happen? So this diagram describes it. So if you have a default value on a field, it will try to resolve the formula. If it's not able to just resolve it, it will look, hey, do we have a default value as a value default? If yes, then it will become default value. If no, then nothing will be set up as a default.
Yeah, good news is I think this just works the way people expect.
Yeah.
So you've covered their back even if there's a bad formula.
Yes, and you can always have as like a safe default value on your global value set or on the field itself in case your formula cannot resolve it. So if we don't know that user profile, for instance, we'll just set up it to like high priority case or something like that. And time field is also, as all of those ideas, they're all based on ID exchange, and time field been around for quite a while, longer than I would want it to be. And it's just another field type that completes a set of primitive fields we have. You all know that we have datetime field and date field, and it was only natural to introduce time field. So now we cover 3 of them. And together with just an ability to create a field, we are providing some enhanced formula support for that. So you'll be able to get your second, minutes, milliseconds, hours, and things like time value.
Milliseconds.
So you can, yeah,
It's crazy.
it's crazy. We were thinking even going even lower than milliseconds, but we stopped. And you can use
IoT people.
for IoT people,
Yeah.
clearly. And then you'll be able to use a time value function that comes handy when you have a daytime and you want to extract only time part of daytime, and you were not able to do it until now. So with all those cool features, I wanna give a small demo. And I set up my org before this event. So I have a few fields created, few picklist fields created on account. And what I want to show here is how I set up a default here. So those fields are using global value set, which I call default value set. And you can see that on default value set, I set up a field to default value to be value 1. And on the field itself, I set it up to be value 2. So I didn't do any complex formula, and it's not necessary that you want to do any calculations. You can just use text. And this is a picklist value API name, by the way. So now, and I have different default values for different fields that I've created. And when I create a new account, you can see all of them at the same time. So 2 of them resolves to a default value that's set up on a field level, and the third one, actually, the formula is not able to resolve it, and so it's rolled up to the global value set. So pretty cool. So, and that can be spammed across multiple objects. Of course, you don't have to have all the pick list field on account. It's just for a demo purpose, so have everything on the same page.
I want more pick lists.
More pick lists. Well, more pick lists. And again, this is awesome new setup experience. I really like it. It makes my life much easier as an admin in Lightning. So I have that cool field for promotion. And guess what? We're going to promote it. So as I promised, all you need to do is click Edit on this page. Wow, this is grayed out. What's going on? So the reason, as I mentioned, the field should be restricted. And it gives you a small tip saying that, hey, if you have less than 1,000 values, you should be able to do that.
I think that's a new feature we need to add to the optimizer. If you have more than 1,000 pick list values, there's probably some problems.
And I totally agree with that. That's one of the reasons we introduced restricted pick lists, because every time you do data loader and something is messed up in your CSV file before, if your field is not restricted, it would just add those values as
You
inactive.
accidentally create 500
Yeah,
values.
and we had the cases when pick lists have like 10,000 of inactive values. And we're working on some pick list value management UI which allow you to clear it up more effectively than today. But back to the demo, we can just restrict that. We can just restrict that field by selecting a checkbox when you will need to save it. And now if I go back to edit, the option now is available. So I can just click promote to global value set. All I need to specify is the name of new value set that will be created. And I just click promote to global value set and it will be done. So just as a 2 steps pretty much if you use unrestricted pick list, or 1 step if you use restricted already.
Great.
And as always, I want to just say to everyone that we really appreciate your ideas. We're trying to do our best to deliver on them. And while it might take us some time, we constantly monitor an idea exchange. I'm trying to be active there, trying to comment and set up expectation on when and what idea would be delivered next. So please keep voting for those ideas. Keep posting your comments. That we clearly listen in. Thank you.
Great, thank you. That's a great demo. And I love that you brought up the idea exchange. I think it is, especially for those of us in the community that might be newer to this, might be their first release, or they might be newer to the community. It's the Salesforce Idea Exchange. It's in the Salesforce Success community, and that's where you can vote for ideas that you see if you do have product requests or feature requests, and also you can submit your own ideas. And so it's a great place to spend time if you are, especially an admin who's building a lot in Salesforce, because our product management teams really do spend time in the Idea Exchange and read the feedback and help use that to inform product delivery.
The Idea Exchange is probably one of those most amazing things that I found when I joined Salesforce, and I was just shocked how we can see what our customers thinking, what they wanted to have, and how it maps into what we're doing. And I'm there like every day. That's how I start my morning. I grab my coffee, I scroll through like all the pick list ideas and see if there's anything new, or if there are any new comments posted. I usually subscribe to most of them, at least to those that we're working or thinking to be working on. So I receive all the comments right into my mailbox.
Great.
That's awesome, and great demo. I was super excited about global value sets and then being able to do more with them and bring our legacy pick lists over. It's a huge time saver for admins, and if you haven't checked out global value sets yet, this is a great time to do so, because you can play with it in your sandbox and promote one of your I shouldn't call them legacy pick lists, but one of your existing pick lists.
Existing pick lists, yes.
Existing pick lists into a global value set and start to see how you can use that if you do have values that you're using for a lot of different object types, for example.
And since we're live, I should use that opportunity to promote my session at Trailhead DX, which is coming in summer. So I'm going to give one talk about power of pick lists. And this is a great opportunity for everyone to just come and learn about everything that we've done around pick lists for the past two or almost 3 years. There have been a lot of idea exchange points retired as a part of that effort.
Yeah, this is awesome for data cleanliness.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, let's see if we have any questions about pick lists and about our demos. Elna, do we have any questions from the community?
Yes, questions are starting to roll in now, so I might have to go back and forth here and refresh here. But we definitely have some excitement about the dynamic default value. I got to tell you, admins always are looking for ways to make things set dynamically because there's a lot of times not a one-size-fits-all solution. So to be able to have that default, I actually experimented with that in my demo Oregon, made a formula, and I tested it and it worked, and I was like, it was really exciting.
Well, it's exciting to hear.
The geek in me. And Jake also recognizes it. He says it's a game changer. Looking forward to the new field types and the new feature set and to a formula on a pick list field. So definitely looking forward to that. And let's see, a question from Joseph about the promoted pick lists. So if you promote a global pick or a standard regular pick list to a global pick list, can you do that? Can you actually replace an existing pick list on a different object?
Yeah, unfortunately, this wouldn't be possible today without pretty much recreating the field. So the promotion tool will help you to promote one single field into global and make that field to use global value set that you create as part of the promotion. And then you can, all the pick lists you create moving forward from it, you can reference them to the global value set. If you have multiple fields that you want to kind of combine into one global value set, you can promote one of them that is most commonly used or have most of the Apex triggers and all the things you created on top of the fields, and then you either recreate other field, or we released an Apex Exchange app that kind of simplifies the process, but pretty much it recreates the field for you and helps you to match the records.
Oh, what's the name of that app?
It's called Picklist Merge.
Picklist Merge.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we should. I'm going to post that on the community because I think people might really be interested in that because that is I can see where that question came from because that's the first use case I would think of is I've got all these duplicates, of the same field on multiple objects, and I really want to consolidate them. So maybe this app.
Yeah, but just to set up expectation, it will still recreate the field for you. So you will not be able to use the same field name. You'll have to go and update your formula. So pretty much it just automates that you will have to do manually anyway today. So it's not like 100% solutions that we want to see, but based on our priorities, based on the things that we have on our roadmap, that was I believe a right move to deliver. So to kind of satisfy at least some of the cravings around these features.
Like perhaps you have one object where it's used for millions of records, and maybe another object where it's just hundreds of records. You do the one with the millions, right, and then deal with the other ones separately, right? Thanks. So a question about Lightning tabs. This might go back to one of the other folks here. What about customizing tabs in Lightning? That comes up a lot as a request, and I know favorites was kind of a step in that direction, but what is coming on that, and do you have any comments on?
Yeah, this is definitely a burning topic. So people have been asking, the new Lightning nav is great, the nav bar is great, but can I, as the end user, customize my tabs like you can in Classic? And the answer is unfortunately not yet. We are hard at work on a solution for this. It will be coming soon. So stay tuned on that, but we've been hearing your feedback every day on it, and we're working hard to do that.
Great. All right.
And you could use favorites in the meantime, which is if you have tabs you want to go to every single day that aren't in the app you're in, you can bookmark them with favorites and go back. But I do realize that you want to directly manipulate the nav bar, so we're working on that.
That's what I do because in our internal Salesforce org, there is no app that's designed just for people who do what I do because I have somewhat of a small team doing what I do. And I use favorites to go to the objects that I use the most, and it works just fine.
And one more plug for favorites. It's not like a waste of your time to create a great favorites list, because when we do this feature to customize your tabs, you'll be able to hopefully drag in your favorites into your nav bar that you've already created. So we're trying to let you have that leverage of you've already made your list. Now you can use that list for your custom nav bar.
I was going to ask you about organizing favorites because I've got a pretty big list now, and I know that.
How many do you have, Elna?
Oh gosh, Probably at least 25.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So there, I know that I think that you said the recent ones is that one's going away. The top favorites.
Yeah, so kind of funny. We were talking before the show about this. So we had this top favorites section at the top of the drop-down list, and it would just kind of look at what you did over time and bubble up your top accessed favorites up there. And we just didn't see enough usage, so we took it off for now. If you guys miss it and love it, post about it. We'll think about bringing that back. But in terms of organization, we've heard requests for folders or like a way to kind of like you manage bookmarks in your web browser, and so we're thinking about how to do that for favorites.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking for that, so I'll be talking to you.
Definitely, yeah.
I actually like the recent favorites I use the most is, people may not know this, but the favorites also show up in the little drop down on each tab.
Yeah.
So you have your just plain old recent records that are not necessarily favorites, and then you have your recent favorites on there as well. I use that a lot, I find.
What's cool about that is it's off the nav bar, and you have those kind of shortcut menus. And so it gives you favorites you have of that object type. So if you're on Accounts tab and you pull down the drop-down and you've already favorited some accounts, you would see them there. It gives you a nice filter on an entity type.
Yeah, so it's like the top ones are already kind of organized for you by object.
Yep.
So definitely, if you haven't used that, check that out. I got one more question, and I think we still have plenty of time left in the broadcast. So let me just ask one more question, and then I'll hand it back to you, Leanne. So Christopher is asking about the time fields. So he's wondering, will they respect each user's time zone, or is it a static value that requires time zone declaration?
So the time field would function as a clock wall time. So it's time zone independent, and it will be displaying the same time across any user profiles. So you can think about it as one of the business cases for this is like business hours. So your store is open from 9 to 5, or hotel check-in time, or your flight check-in time. So those are time zone independent things. So the time field would work the same way. Or maybe if you're familiar with the business hours as part of your Salesforce configuration, so it mimics the same type of behavior.
And regarding the pilot for time fields, is whenever we talk about pilots, it's great to help our admins understand like how could they get access to that pilot, or whether or not they might be a good fit for that pilot, because there's a lot of types of pilots that we run at Salesforce. If there's admins out there or customers out there that are interested in exploring the time zone or the time field, what's the best way for them to proceed?
So it follows the rules of any pilot, so you'll have to contact the support to enable to file the request, and you need to provide a justification on how you're going to use the time field. So we're trying to collect as many customers, of course, as we can, but at the same time, since it's pilot, it's a little bit limited and it might not be as fancy as a GA release. So we're really looking forward to work with the customers with the bigger use cases. So if they can describe those to us and provide us feedback after the completing pilot programs, that will be the best way to get into it. And we have a success community group for time field as well. So you can always ask questions there, and I monitor that group as well.
Great, thank you. Any more questions before we get into event monitoring?
I got one more favorites question for you, Joe. So, and this is a good one. This is a doozy.
It's a doozy? Okay.
Are we adding favorites to Classic?
No, we're not. It's an easy answer. We're making all of our investments in Lightning, so we hope you'll come over to Lightning and use it full time.
Lightning is the future.
Lightning is the future.
That's right. And it's getting better and better, and the reasons, the excuses, I should say, to stay on Classic are getting fewer and fewer for a lot of customers. Now, we understand there are some customers who, have a bit of a longer path, and that's okay as long as you're keeping up to date with what's in Lightning so that you're ready. When you're ready, you don't have to start from scratch and evaluate how you're going to build everything or how you're going to reimagine things, because a lot of things, you're going to actually get more productive when you build those business processes in Lightning or transfer them to Lightning, perhaps without even doing much at all. Just, enable a console app, for example, and that's a huge game changer right there. So. Yeah, that's going to be pretty much the answer to the reason why something is not being added to Classic is because Lightning is the current and future interface. So, but I understand, people want to be able to use it now, even if they're for some reason not able to use Lightning yet.
I mean, I will mention, because you're going to see this in the release notes for the upcoming release, is that we do have a public API coming out for favorites. So as a developer, you could access the data and do with it what you want, but we're not going to build a Salesforce UI in Classic for favorites.
Well, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing. All right, that's it for now. I might have a couple towards the end, so get back with me.
Great,
after.
thank you, Elna. And that's a great point about, features. All of our features and all of these cool end user features and admin features are coming to Lightning. And so even for our admins out there that maybe their organization has determined that Lightning's on the roadmap for them, but they're not turning Lightning on tomorrow, there's no reason for admins out there to not get into Lightning today, whether in a sandbox or whether by creating just a permission set for themselves. Because I know as an admin, I wouldn't want to be in an experience the same week my end users were, right? Like I want to become the expert. I want to make sure that I'm fine tuning it. I want to make sure that I'm building it exactly how my end users will like, and I'm aware of all the features that are coming out by the time we do turn it on. So
yeah, and we've got the one-click preview as well. If you're still worried about turning it on, you shouldn't be, but if you are.
Yeah, so there's the preview, and that's in the Lightning Migration Assistant, and you can have Lightning in your sandbox. And you can, if you are using custom profiles, you can always create a permission set for yourself as an admin and just flip it on for yourself. Your end users, their experience won't change at all. So there's a lot of ways. Or you can always, if you're scared to touch anything in your production environment, you can just spin up a developer edition environment and just play in Lightning there and play with new features. So there's no reason not to start getting into Lightning, especially if you're a Salesforce admin. So with that, let's learn more about event monitoring.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks for trying to get things over to me as well.
I'm just excited about it. It's awesome.
So I thought it might be helpful for everyone to give a quick recap on what Shield and what event monitoring is, as it's still a relatively younger product and it is an add-on, so it's not something that necessarily every Salesforce customer is using. So I think it's very important to emphasize, at Salesforce, everybody knows trust is our #1 value. So out of the box, we provide a ton of security features, from the infrastructure layer all the way up to the application layer that customers can use to make sure that their data is safe. So where Shield comes into play is really for customers that have a need above and beyond kind of what the average customer may need. And Shield is actually composes of 3 products. So there's platform encryption, which is for encrypting data at rest. There's event monitoring, which is what I'm going to focus on today, and that's all about monitoring user activities. And then the third product is Field Audit Trail, and this is about extending what you get out of the box with Field History Trail, to give you a greater number of coverage of fields, up to 60 fields, and maintaining that data for up to 10 years. So it's really for compliance needs if you need to audit what the state of the data was at a given point in time, and if you need that data for a long time. Typically, customers that may need these products may be in heavily regulated industries like finance or healthcare or potentially government. Now, what I would say for event monitoring is we actually have a bit of a broader set of use cases. So of the 3 products, I think it's the most appealing to customers because, kind of Leanne, to your point earlier about running the release readiness check, like who doesn't want to know more about what their users are doing on the platform? And that's what event monitoring does in huge detail. So primary use case, I would say, has been traditionally security. So people want to know who is doing what with their data on the Salesforce platform, from where. But 2 other use cases that we have are around adoption. So if you want to understand, so great use case, we've talked a lot today about what's in Lightning, who's actually using Lightning if you've enabled both UIs in your organization. Or you just want to understand like where the return on your investment is, like what pages are being visited the most, what are people actually doing? The third use case is around performance. So if you want to do any performance troubleshooting, if you want to try and understand where pages are running slower, and particularly if you're doing a lot of customization in your environment, it can be very useful for that third use case.
This is huge. One of the things I hear from customers is, give me the tools so I can know how to make things better.
Yeah.
And this is one of those great tools that can help you.
Absolutely. So there's actually a few different components to the product. So it is an API-first product. So in summer release 14, we actually now cover up to 41 events. So it's actually gone up from 38 to 41 in summer. So 3 of those events are actually in pilot. So with this API, we provide access to each of these event types in a daily batch. Now, I do want to mention roadmap-wise, so quick flash back to our standard Salesforce disclaimer. But we are working very hard to actually deliver these events in a more frequent format. So we have a pilot going on right now to get the events in hourly. And our ultimate goal is moving towards like a real-time event-driven architecture. So part of our product is already in that methodology, namely the transaction security feature. But our vision is to have the whole thing be an event-driven real-time architecture. But today, anyway, we have the API with the event log files every 24 hours. The second piece of event monitoring is really about, now you have all this raw data, what do you do with it? How do you analyze it? So there's a few different options for that. So out of the box, we provide a Salesforce Wave application to view your event monitoring data. And we also have a pretty good partner ecosystem. So we've worked with a number of different partners that have built applications on top of event monitoring. So depending on what your tool of choice is, you can leverage a number of different tools or even build your own to analyze the data. So some of the key partners that we've worked with include Splunk, Fair Warning, New Relic, and CloudLock. So depending on what your specific use case is, you may find one of those partner applications to be better suited to your needs. Thirdly, event monitoring data today, it's log driven, so we don't actually have customer data in the logs. So you can augment the data in your whatever application that you're doing to bring in that context, so location, usernames, and so on. And the fourth piece, which I'm going to touch on today in terms of what's new, but the fourth piece is the transaction security feature. And this is an incredibly powerful feature. So transaction security really takes you beyond monitoring what already happened in your organization to being able to enforce user behavior. So with transaction security, you can actually hook into events in real time and write policies to determine appropriate user behavior. So types of actions that you can take include, say, for example, if a user is doing a large report export, you could require that user to be bumped up to two-factor authentication. So it adds a huge extra level of protection and security to make sure that user really is who they say they are. Other examples or other actions that you can take include notification, of course, and you can also freeze the user, which is a new action, and end the user session as well.
What does it do, a user freeze?
So it will evaluate, depending on what the user is trying to do, it'll evaluate the policy that the administrator has defined. And then if the criteria is met, if the user is doing something that the administrator doesn't want them to be doing in that organization, it will actually end their session.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's
That's
a real time.
helpful,
Yeah.
You see someone is exporting too much stuff.
Exactly, yeah. So
importing
that's a
too much
very
stuff.
common use case of event monitoring from the security perspective is, around data leakage.
That's very helpful.
Yeah. So that's kind of the product as it is today, but I do want to show what's new in the summer release. So I'm actually going to transition to demo now and show you guys some of the new enhancements that we've made in the summer release. So firstly, the first thing that we've done is we've actually updated that Wave application that I talked about. So if you're already using the Wave application, you can see here in my environment, I have Amanda's Event Monitoring Wave app. You can easily go into this and see that there's an upgrade available. I've done this already just for convenience. So I'm just going to go into my summer release. So you'll still have your old application. This is well documented in the help. So I'm not going to go into it today. It's pretty straightforward. But a good place to start out in looking at event monitoring data is taking a look at the logins. So logins is useful for a number of reasons. It's useful from a security perspective. It's useful from an adoption perspective. And it can be useful to understand license utilization as well. So immediately when I log in here, I can see exactly who's been logging into this organization and how frequently they're logging in. I can also see some other key use cases like what browsers are they logging in from? And then I can see what IPs are they logging in from. So this could be useful if I want to spot anomalous activity. So something that's new in our summer release, now for the first time, you can actually create notifications on key performance indicators that are in the top bar. So this is something that a lot of our customers have been asking for. So for example, if I'm concerned about performance, I could set an alert on the average login time or maximum login time. Or if I want to set an alert on the total number of logins, I can do that here. So very easy, just on the top right-hand corner, there's a little drop-down arrow, and I choose what value. So say in this, I see there's been just over 3,000 logins in the past 30 days. So I can say if this goes above 4,000, for example, and I want to run this every day, I can choose a time and then save and run. And it's that easy. So then I'll be notified if that goes above. So use cases why I might want to know this. I may want to know if there's an unusually large number of people logging into my organization. That could indicate possible compromised credentials. Or I may want to understand if I have a certain number of licenses, if I'm going above that, that could be another use case why I would want to set a notification here. So that's the logins. So I'm going to switch now. So we have 15 pre-built dashboards here. So I'm going to switch and look at the Lightning adoption. So you've heard so much in today and some of the previous sessions about how much we're investing in Lightning. Event monitoring is no different. So we have in the spring release, we've brought in some new event types to better help you track usage of adoption and performance in Lightning. And in the summer release, we've added new dashboards in Wave to highlight those event types. So the Lightning log lines actually also track Salesforce 1 activity, not just Lightning on the desktop. So anything in Salesforce 1 will also be tracked here. So I can see immediately how many users are logging in, how many clicks they're making, how many interactions they're making, and then I can see a trend line showing my overall Lightning usage. I can see kind of a more detailed day-by-day breakdown of that Lightning usage, and then I can see what devices are people using. So that might indicate that people on certain devices prefer Lightning versus another interface. I can also see which types of entities people have been accessing. So if it's a specific standard object, then I'll see exactly which ones are the most popular. So I've got here report, accounts, dashboards, and so on. And then on the right-hand side, I can see those specific IDs. So if I click on one of these, you can actually filter and see exactly which are the specific report names, or report IDs, rather. So it is possible to denormalize this data and actually show the report name, but in the raw logs, it's not actually available. It has to be augmented. And then I can also see which pages have been visiting the most, and then which pages users spend the longest on. So lots of information here, and I should mention there's lots more available in the raw data as well. So this is just what we've provided out of the box in this visualization.
That's super powerful. Like I hear from so many people, I want to track what are people doing in Lightning, how many people are using it, what's going on there, and like as you just saw with Wave, you can just like dive deep or get the high-level summary like in an instant.
Yeah. And something else that's new in the summer release is that we've actually migrated to the Wave, the newest dashboard designer. So again, this is something I'm not going to go into too much today, but I've been assured that this is the easiest way for you to customize your Wave dashboards. So that's pretty well documented already, but we're now on the latest and greatest framework for helping you make it easier to customize your Wave dashboards. And then also related to Lightning, so we also have a performance dashboard. So we can show you. This is, again, most useful, the performance use case is really useful for those customers who are doing a lot of customization on top of Salesforce, because that's where, you probably want to troubleshoot your own code mostly. But in this particular environment, you can see which types of pages are, you can compare like the maximum effective page time and the average of the page time. And then you can see below which specific pages are running slowest and fastest, both at a maximum value and an average value. So probably most applicable for our developers in Salesforce. But some very useful information again there to get more about your Lightning adoption.
Is there a way to see what exact part of the page is taking so long? I'm thinking about like 10,000 pixels that you need to load on account detail page or something like that. Yeah,
so that's all in the raw data. So for each specific event, we'll tell you exactly which page you were on and what the experience page time was for that.
That would be really helpful, yeah.
So that's it. And then I do want to show you just quickly an example of how you can augment the data within Wave. So you can see here in reports, for this particular table, I have already augmented these values. Instead of seeing the report IDs, I actually see the report names. So this can easily be brought in from Salesforce. So that's really the key features in the Wave visualization. I would like to transition now and show you another really exciting new feature. So I talked already about how powerful the transaction security feature is. So I want to show you some new features that are in that particular feature. So transaction security is part of event monitoring. You can access it from the setup menu. So as with many things, the quickest way to get to it is simply type in transaction security in the find bar. And specific to the Lightning experience, we have this nice carousel at the top, which is giving you some live statistics from your environment. So this can give you some really good ideas about what's going on in your environment already and what kind of policies you may want to create to determine what acceptable behavior is. So I can see that right now in this small demo environment, I actually have 3 people logged in right now, so hopefully they don't interfere with my demo. There's 12 concurrent sessions, and on average there's 4 concurrent sessions. So I may want to define a policy around this. You can see the top policy here. Somebody's already chosen to create a policy around how many concurrent sessions are acceptable. And then if I flick to the second tab here, I can see right now 2 users have concurrent sessions. And there's also links to help and training and the transaction security trailhead. I highly recommend the transaction security trailhead because this is a feature that's that you really need to get hands-on with and play around with. And I also recommend that if you're going to start working with this feature, to test it out in the sandbox before enabling it in your environment, because it is such a powerful feature. And as an administrator, you can even lock yourself out if you're testing out a policy that's designed to block the user session. So another new feature that we've added in the summer release is support for Chatter. So now you can monitor posts that are going to Chatter and see, for example, is there any sensitive data being posted? Or profanity, for example, might be another use case. So you can define what's acceptable to be posted in your organization. So I'm going to go ahead and create a policy here. So for the Chatter, this is an entity. So I want to choose entity as my the type of category. And then I am choosing I'm going to say for this one, I'm going to choose feed item because I want to monitor what's being posted into the Chatter feed. So you can see this is nice declarative UI. Previously, this was pretty much all in Apex. Now, a good part of it is actually declarative. So for here, I can either choose to generate Apex. I'm going to cheat a little bit for this demo because I've already created some Apex, which is determining the conditions, but I'll show you exactly what's in that condition. So I've already created a condition earlier, which is looking for the word acquisition in the Chatter, or in the body of the text. So then I want to choose what action am I going to take for if somebody actually does post the word that I've determined is not supposed to be posted. So I'm going to actually choose to block that because I don't want anybody posting at all. And I'm going to choose just an in-app notification so that we can see it. And I'm going to choose the recipient of that notification to be me, and I'm going to execute it as myself as well. So typically, you'll choose the same user to execute as the same user as the notification. And then I just choose what am I going to call this. So call it something useful. So I'm going to call it DLP check acquisition in Chatter. So what I want to do is block and notify if the user posts about an acquisition. And I don't know why I chose a word that's so hard to spell for myself, because the word, it's looking for an exact match of the spelling of the word acquisition. So you could actually make it more flexible if you wanted. That was just how I defined that policy. And then I saved that policy. So then I'm finished.
So that's great for like legal, huh? If you're like in the middle of a deal and you want to make sure people aren't sharing.
Yeah, I mean that's a great use case. So you know, if you may like acquisition is obviously for this demo. I chose like a pretty general word that would probably cause some false positives. But like if you had a specific company name or you know some more targeted keywords that would probably be like make a better policy. But this is just for the purpose of demo. So I just wanted to show you how easy it is.
Sure.
Yep. So I'm just going to look for my policy now. So here it is, DLP check acquisition and chatter. So it's looking for a feed item, block in-app notification are the actions, and then here's my apex. So I can actually just show you what that apex looks like. So this is the apex that I created ahead of time. So it's just looking for in the body, if it contains acquisition, return true, else return false. So the last thing that I need to do once I have defined my policy is I need to enable it. So again, you know, I would recommend testing this out in the sandbox and maybe not doing the block action in the beginning, or certainly not ending the user session until you've tested it out thoroughly and are pretty happy with that it's only blocking what you want it to block. Let me just find my policy. And I'm going to enable this. And then I'm going to go over to Chatter and test this out. So here's my Chatter feed for this organization. I'm going to try and post something. And let's see. So I'll say, have you seen the latest AI demo by the company Cirrus? I heard they are a potential acquisition target. And I'm going to try and share this. And my demo actually worked, which is great. So you can see that I'm actually not allowed to post this because it contains that keyword that I'm looking for. And the operation that you requested isn't allowed due to a security policy in your organization. So you've got to contact your administration for more info about your security policies. And then because I'm logged in as Amanda, if I look up here in the notification, I got a real-time notification telling me that this policy was violated. And if I had chosen to, I could have actually had an email as well. So just in case I'm not logged in all the time. So normally I would probably choose both, but in this case, I just wanted to show you the in-app notification. So you can see very, very powerful way to control acceptable user behavior. Very useful for companies that have higher security needs and that need to be able to control, what users are actually posting about. And you can write policies on, a good number of standard objects, as well as being able to control resource access. It's very well documented. I definitely recommend, again, that Trailhead if you want to try and test this out.
Great. Well, thank you. I mean, that was such a powerful demo. I mean, these are features that are so impactful for admin security-minded organizations, driving adoption. And I know we have a lot of burning questions from the community because everyone's really been enjoying your demo.
Yeah, this has been awesome. And there's lots of great questions. And we're probably not going to get to all of them. So if you could follow up afterwards, that would be great.
Sure.
But let's just take a couple and see how many we can squeeze in before we have to wrap up. So let's just talk a little bit about how you get this. So there's Salesforce Shield, and then there's event monitoring. Do you purchase Salesforce Shield and then you get event monitoring with it, or can you purchase event monitoring as itself separately?
Yeah, great question. So each of the 3 products in Shield are sold either separately or in the bundle.
And another part of that, the Wave component. Do you also need to purchase Wave, or is that built into the
Another great question. So Wave today, when you buy event monitoring, either standalone or as a part of Shield, you get a Wave application specifically for viewing event monitoring. So there's a pre-built app. So what I was showing you today actually comes out of the box as part of the event monitoring product.
So you use Wave within the context of that, but you wouldn't be able to build other things in Wave.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. So if you want to bring in, completely external data sets and use Wave for other use cases beyond event monitoring, then Wave platform would be your path to doing that.
Great. And Ravi wants to know, how is event monitoring different from, let's say, the Lightning adoption dashboard and reports?
So I think event monitoring goes a lot beyond what comes out of the box. So event monitoring is, this API first product that provides a ton of data. So, you could be looking at, depending on how big your organization is, millions of events per day, and we provide all that raw data to you, which you can then visualize either in Wave or in partner applications. It includes the Wave app, and it includes the transaction security feature for writing those policies. So there's a good bit more to it than just like the couple of dashboards that we saw today or what's available out of the box.
It's definitely more powerful. I'm the guy that built the app I think he's talking about, and this goes above and beyond. We can answer more on that forum too.
Perfect, thank you. Great question from Jolene. Can you look at stats and events on a community versus the Sales Cloud? Can you look at
Yes, you can, yes. So anything that's being logged on the core platform today is supported by event monitoring.
Great. And Christopher wants to know, if you're using Lightning to run this application, can you monitor classic users' activity?
Yes, I was actually going to mention that, but just in the interest of time, I didn't. So within the Wave application, there is another dashboard called URI, or there is an event in the API called URI, and that includes logging for classic.
Great. And actually, one of the things that a lot of customers have asked me about when I was working with them is, if you have a customer who you want to see, or a user who may have done something that they shouldn't have done, like they're about to leave, they export a report, or you want to know if they've taken any data, right? And I believe that out of the box, that's kind of hard to track, right?
Yeah.
So is this something where you could actually see this user exported this report on this date and time, and then you wouldn't have to go to Salesforce and, ask for the log files that way?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a very common use case for event monitoring is, I either have a user that's just left and I want to know everything that they did, say, in the last 30 days before they left, or I have, maybe these 5 employees that are on a watch list and I want to monitor everything that they're doing. So we give pretty much every click that a user is doing, we have an event captured for that action. So you get all that raw data. We have two fields in most of the events called login key and session key, which enable you to correlate all the events that a user did in a particular session. So that's definitely there. But event monitoring only begins collecting data once it's enabled. So for historical purposes, you do need to use that service that we have available via support to request logs.
So for Jolene, does that monitoring include records they access?
Yes, it does, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So there's a great blog. My predecessor, Adam Torman, created this blog called salesforcehacker.com. And there's a great blog post called Automagical Things You Can Do with URLs, which explains exactly how to do that.
Wow, that's super powerful.
Yeah, it's a
and
great blog. It's a great forum, actually.
A lot of organizations.
And we'll make sure to share those blogs and share the documentation, because I think we've got some great questions still to answer. So we'll make sure to get to those on the Success community. But thank you so much. That was a great demo. All of you sharing all of the new and greatest features in App Cloud. So thank you all for being here. It's been really meaningful for our admins and our audience. And thank all of you for joining us today for our summer release readiness preview for summer 17 for the App Cloud. Make sure to join us tomorrow for our release preview of Service Cloud, so you can answer all of those questions you have about Service Cloud features. And as I mentioned earlier, this entire session will be recorded and it will be posted to Salesforce Live site, along with little videos of the various sections, as well as the longer video of the entire session. So thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.